Okay, so the third season of Amazon's The Wheel of Time has ended. And I've got to say, overall, I think it is the best season, but by proxy, because when the season itself ended, I didn't really feel much. Like, the season as a whole is better made than season 1 and season 2. There's a better flow to it. But in my eyes, the story didn't conclude, it just ended. When the credits rolled during the finale, I didn't feel much. I was like, okay, great. What now? There wasn't really much of a build up to the next season. I mean, there might not even be a next season. And the thing is too, is that I've made it very clear in the past that I'm not a fan of the first 2 seasons of the show. Season 3 is the best season, but at the same time too, I'm not in love with this show. That being said though, I'm not going into the season wanting to hate it. I went in going, okay, let's see what they do. And trust me, there's a lot of things that I do want to praise in this season. But then again too, this is just a first time watch. I have not fully analysed and broken down the scenes, nor do I really care to. Like, I just wanted to watch season 3 to see how it would pan out. And when the credits rolled in that final episode, I went, okay, if they make a season 4, cool. But then again too, some of the choices they made in the finale and in previous episodes, I was like, huh? Why did you do that? And trust me, we'll get into that. But before we get into the rest of the review, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media. It's all linked down in the description. I'm also an actor and filmmaker myself, so check out my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. And I also have reviewed the first 4 episodes of this season. They are in 2 separate videos because that 4th episode really it took me aback. I was going to include it in this video, but because I was taken aback because of how well made it was, I decided to make a separate video on it because the episode was really good. And for the most part, the reason why I think that episode is the best episode of the show is because it's the most book accurate, but also too, the filmmaking in it was really cool. And there's a lesson to be learned in the episode because yes, you can make filmmaking and creative choices that differ from the book, but so long as you stick to the core essence of the book, what the book itself was trying to portray with that sequence, with that scene, with the characters, you can do something cool and interesting cinematically. Just make sure that it's in line with the material. And for the most part, season 3 did do that, but then also too, it did some things in like the finale and a couple of episodes where I was like, what? Why? So yes, without further ado, let's get into The Wheel of Time season 3, episodes 5 to 8, 9? One of the things that really stood out to me with this episode is I do not understand the change of them killing off Perrin's family, because they didn't kill off Perrin's family. They escaped, and they're not really mentioned throughout the rest of the season. And it's just, I don't know why they did that, because that is one of the most shocking parts of The Shadow Rising, and they didn't commit to it. They didn't do it, and instead they made Matt's family more important. Like, the Cawthons get taken, and then Matt's mother is killed, but also too, his sisters are like Aes Sedai in training and such, and it's like, okay, I don't remember that from the book. Maybe it did happen, but at the same time too, Matt's mother definitely didn't die in the book.
Damn prick.
And his sisters, from what I remember, are not prominent channelers in the books. And because they made that drastic change to Perrin's family, I feel like in many ways it took away from Perrin's arc and storyline this season, because I didn't care as much. Like, in the books, he had a reason to kind of like be angry against the White Cloaks, to, you know, do the right thing, because also too, he is fighting against his lust for revenge and such, because the White Cloaks killed his family. But in the show, because they've taken that away from him, I didn't care as much. And then jumping over to Rand and Egwene and the Aiel Waste and such, I liked Rand being nice to the Aiel children, and trust me, that pays off later on in the later episodes, where they do a really cool thing with that. The stuff with Egwene and Tel'Amriod is pretty well done for the most part. I mean, I think for the most part, the show does a solid representation of the dream world. Like, they even did the whole thing with the clothes change due to the character's mood and such. Like, that was pretty cool. That was visually well done. The scene between Rand and the Aiel girl was really sweet. Like, I love the whole bit where she's like, oh, you've, like, you know, gone against me and you've taken my G, now you owe me To. And Rand's like, okay, then I will harvest your garden. It was a really nice and cute scene, and I won't lie, it gets heartbreaking as the season progresses. Hey, they brought Tom Merrilin back and he's wearing his colourful patchwork cloak. Like, that was really cool. Like, I really liked the actor they got for Tom in season 1, and it sucked that he wasn't in season 2, and seeing him return in season 3 was really nice, and I think the actor does a really good job at portraying that character. I think one of the moments in this episode that really stood out to me was the sometimes conversation between Rand and Moiraine, because there was something so, well, ominous about it, but also well acted between Rosamund Pike and Yasha Stradowski to where I was like, oh, this feels very in line with these characters from the books. Also, in that conversation, did they just name drop Saidar and Saidin for the first time? Because if they did, that opens a whole can of worms, because then the show is just treating it like they've established what Saidar and Saidin have been since the very beginning, which they haven't. And also, too, the show itself doesn't understand the principles of Saidar and Saidin, because female channelers cannot see male channelers channel the one power, vice versa and such. But there's a scene in earlier episodes where Rand is channeling and Moraine can see him channeling. I will say one of the fun moments of this episode was the Hills of Tanchico song. Like, I think Sierra Coveney sings it really well, and I think it does a really good job of demonstrating the chemistry and banter between Tom and Elaine. The Hills of Tanchico. A scene that I thought was a little silly was how Matt's sisters just healed Lana via her instruction. Like, I thought that was just a bit easy and cheap, and it's kind of like, okay, not a massive fan of this stuff. A scene I was quite a fan of, though, just from the way it was directed and acted, was the scene between Mogideon, Elaine, and Nynaeve, where Mogideon comes in and, like, gets the information from them and takes the bracelet from them. That was a really creepy and eerie and ominous scene, and I think the actors did a wonderful job. But then that scene is followed by the Rand and Egwene scene, where they break up, kind of break up, I guess, I don't know. But it just felt very teen drama, very melodramatic, and I know the Wheel of Time books can feel like that, but the way this was written, this was very teen drama, this was very melodramatic. But then again, this scene is followed by probably one of the best moments of the entire season, maybe even the entire show. They adapted the scene from the books where Rand tries to bring a child back to life. Now in the show, it's different compared to the books, because in the books they're in the Stone of Tyr, there's a Trolloc attack, the girl is already dead, and Rand is like, oh, I'm gonna like try and heal her as much as I can, but he can't do it. But in the show, they changed it, and they made it in many ways kind of emotional, more emotional, I'd say, which is the fact of it's the same Aiel girl that Rand owes Toh to. And so him killing her makes it even more emotionally impactful, and it's Rand's fault, and then that kind of just adds to his madness, like when he is trying to resurrect her and he's like, I can do anything! So good. It was genuinely amazing. Like, Yasha Stradowski acted the hell out of that scene. Like, taking a scene like that from the book and changing it and adapting it to fit the story of the show, I think was really well done. Like, that is when the show is good. So episode 7 is the big battle episode in the Two Rivers, and yeah, for the most part, it's fine. Like, I don't really have too many issues with the battle itself. I think it's fine. But again, too, there is something about it where, like, I didn't care, and I think it's purely for the fact of they didn't kill off Perrin's family, and so Perrin just, he's there, he's becoming a leader, he's doing the stuff he does in this book, and technically in later books as well, I guess. But then also, too, this episode just makes some weird choices. Like, they killed off Valda, and they killed off Loial. Like, why? Like, I know Loial in the later books doesn't really do much, but he's still a fun presence to have around. Like, I don't know why they killed him off. And, like, even with Valda, like, Valda is supposed to be present in later books, doing stuff to Morghese, and she's not present now in the show because he's dead. Like, why did they do that? I will say, though, my favorite moment in the episode was when they brought back the Manetheren song. Like, the way they brought that song back in the episode was really well done, as Perrin is rallying the Two Rivers soldiers to get ready for battle, and they all just start singing, weep for Manetheren, weep for the blood of Aemon. It was really good. It was really well done. Now we get to the finale, which I think was kind of lackluster because it didn't really feel like a finale. Like, one thing I will say is that it opens with this flashback of Siuan becoming the Amelin Sea, and I won't lie, that flashback was a bit silly because Siuan technically, like, loses the vote, and then all of a sudden the sisters that didn't vote for her just started voting for her without any, like, provocation. It's like, why did they do that? That was so weird. Like, why did they just decide to vote for her in that moment? Just, it didn't make any sense. It was so silly the way it played out. And yes, there are things in the episode that happen, like Nynaeve almost gets drowned and such, but she saves herself by using the one power. She finally is able to channel it by surrendering to Saidin, or Saidar. They did the scene between Matt and the Aelfin, or the Finn and the Elfin, and it was done pretty decently, though they changed the location, because I think in the book it happens in Roidian, but in the show they, like, made it a thing where, like, Matt just walks through this, like, archway, and then he meets the Elfin, and then they've set up, like, the prophecies for later stuff. And then we get to, like, the ending part of the episode, which was just it didn't resonate with me. Like, yes, Rand is like there becoming the Karakan. He is confronting Couladin. The Aiel are like rallying behind the real Karakan, which is him. And then he like channels and makes it rain, which is basically, you know, in the books, that's them ripping off Dune, the 1984 version or the actual book. But then this is also the part of the episode where I'm like, okay, we're doing all these changes, but they don't make any sense. Like, they just flat out kill off Sawan. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, you stilled her, that's like how it's supposed to happen, and then they killed her, and it's like, what? Sawan like comes back in the later parts of the books and is like a mental figure to Egwene. Huh? They also didn't kill off Moraine or Lanfear. It's like the two of them fight and they like mortally wound each other, or maybe they don't even mortally wound each other because, you know, Moraine is still fine and Lanfear just runs through a gateway. And that kind of takes away the tragedy of them losing Moraine halfway through the series. Plus also too, like, what is Moraine supposed to do throughout the rest of the show? Like, you can't keep having, you know, Lanfear like tempting Rand and doing all this stuff with Rand, and then also too, you can't have Moraine doing the thing where she's like trying to fulfill her purpose, which is to help the Dragon Reborn win the last battle and such. But like, can't keep having her like do this thing back and forth. Like, the show is just gonna go like round in circles if it keeps doing that. I don't know, like the finale itself just doesn't have any emotional impact for me. Like, it ended and I went, okay, if they do season 4, they do season 4. If they don't, then yeah, this was a pretty bad adaptation of the books, I guess. Even though season 3 is the best season, I didn't care. So, to conclude, The Wheel of Time Season 3 is the best season, but at the same time too, the finale itself wasn't very strong. They made a lot of weird choices throughout the season, but also too specifically in the finale, to where I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? This season is just a mixed bag for me, because there are times I went, okay, this is great. Why didn't we just get this type of show from the beginning? Like, episode 4, pretty great. Certain moments throughout most of the episodes, I was like, this is pretty great. Like, it's not exactly how it plays out in the book, but they took the ideas from the book, they changed it, and they made it fit within the context of the episode. Like, as I've said, this is the best season, but also, too, it's kind of annoying because why is season 3 the season where they finally found their stride? Like, no, this show should have been, like, good from the beginning. But then also, too, that season finale to me is very lackluster, especially when it comes to some of the writing choices. Like, why did they kill Sawan? Why did they not kill off Moraine or Lanfear? Like, and not even just in the finale, certain choices like them not killing off Perrin's family just took away from his arc. Like, yes, they brought in Fael, and Perrin and Fael became a couple, and Perrin became, you know, Perrin Golden Eyes, Lord of the Two Rivers and such, but emotionally, I didn't feel it. Now, whether or not the show gets renewed for a 4th season, I don't know, and nor do I really care. Because season 3 for me was kind of an experiment. I was watching this season to see what they would do, and seeing them become more book accurate was nice, but at the same time too, I'm like, where do you go from here? Because now you've just got to adapt stuff like the Slog, but then also too, there's stuff in the Lord of Chaos that could be done really well, like they do have to do Dumai's Wells, but then seeing how the show adapts certain battles and certain scenes, I don't know if they will do Dumai's Wells justice. Not to mention too, my memory of the books past the Dragon Reborn aren't like the most like super sharp or the most super accurate, because in my eyes they are lesser books than the original trilogy. And then like there are certain books in the midst of the middle of the series that I do like, but for the most part the book kind of just, you know, trod their feet, they tread water until they like finally like push forwards. But even then, it's like I'm on the last book right now, I've kind of lost interest in the series. And so if the show gets renewed for a 4th season, I might still watch it just out of pure curiosity, or I might not. We'll see where it goes. But those are my thoughts on The Wheel of Time Season 3. And overall, yes, it is the best season, I guess, but at the same time too, I wouldn't call it great. But what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. Until we meet again, see you guys next time.